Welcome back to another episode of the Casters Desk, our podcast with I of course, mean myself, Leonard König or Koning Leinhardt, as you might see my name on social media, and of course, Sebastian Lemke or Lampy. YGO, how are you, my friend?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm absolutely on fire today. I think this is episode number 5, maybe.
Roundabout. Let's stop the counting.
Yeah,
It gets
stop the
cringe to
count.
count.
Stop
Yeah,
the count.
it gets cringe to count all the episodes because we are anyways going to do like multiple thousands. So why does it matter whether it's episode
Yeah.
5 or 1,000?
Yeah, consistency is key, especially with my streaming career. That is definitely true. No, I've been on fire. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh the entire day in preparation of this weekend. I'm going to be in Mainz. So just
Nice.
to get this out of the way, of course, there's a cool dueling festival in Mainz and an actual pyramid, which is crazy cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
And you can go there, compete. There's actually like a system where you get star chips to qualify for day 2. So we are very first season Yu-Gi-Oh. That is
Actual anime stuff. Yeah.
yes, and the first prize is going to be an oversized Blue Eyes White Dragon Ultra Rare card. So I want this. That is why I am gathering cards and I am playing with cards. I actually am playing with some proxies today. I've been playing a lot with myself. I took an old
That's
invoice that I wrote.
that's out of context. That sounds so wrong. Like you hearing speaking about Yu-Gi-Oh, sure, but
I don't even
just the
even hear it
sentence
anymore.
I played a lot with myself today is a weird one.
I don't even hear it anymore when I say this. I'm way too innocent for this. You know this, Basti.
I agree, I agree. But yeah, I mean, you are on fire. You are testing for the format of fire, and I mean that is per usual at the moment the overlying topic that is coming up because we just had the first real weekend of the format where Phantom Nightmare was released, or it was the second weekend actually, but it was the first one with big events happening, and therefore it's like the first one where we could already follow streams, where we could already get some info from the free YCS in Costa Rica. And yeah, we got some data from that, which is usually the most important part to me personally, because I'm very, 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 very much into data. Because I think with data, you can basically solve anything, be it Yu-Gi-Oh related or not. Like data will always probably give you the right answer because numbers don't lie. And
You're kind
therefore,
of a data scientist, right?
yeah. I don't know why I ended up being a Yu-Gi-Oh caster, but but indeed, yeah. So and the numbers are, some would say terrifying, some would say completely expected. I would say nice.
Yeah, agree.
To keep
So
it short.
just to take this away, because I have had issues with people insulting me under video comments on other YouTubers' videos, this is going to be a tier zero propaganda. This
Oh,
is going
true.
to be a podcast where we are not going to talk down a deck that is absolutely dominant, but we are, I think, both going to uplift the coming format, and we're going to hype a bit about it because I love tier zero formats, given that the deck that is tier zero is skillful to play and provides a decent mirror match.
Yeah, so quick rundown on what we're looking at in terms of content for this podcast episode that we have coming up right now. So first of all, we are going to talk about the scenario that we're in right now, like talking about the data that we got provided from this weekend, how we are thinking about the entire situation, about that tier zero situation, and then we are going to get into a general breakdown of how we as casters do prepare for those kind of tier zero formats, but also how we would be preparing for them as a player. And I mean, you are currently preparing for it as a player as you are preparing for this weekend, right? So
Yeah.
that is definitely two sides that we can definitely include. And yeah, so to actually, because I was just mentioning that the data is so important, you said it's a tier zero format, and that is not a statement that I would say is completely wrong, because the number that came out was 81%. 81% of the top cut at the freebie through ICS in Costa Rica included Snake Eye. So it's split
Yeah.
between pure Snake Eye and Fire King Snake Eye, but to be honest, to be fair, it's kind of the same deck with just a couple of cards on top, but like the main topic of the deck is the Snake Eye and the Diabellstar engine, of course.
Yeah, I guess the difference is, do you want to rather extend your combo, or do you want to play more hand traps?
Yeah, pretty much exactly. But like calling them different decks would
Yeah,
probably like they are slightly different, and you have to definitely for the Fire King variant do a lot more work combo wise because the
yeah,
combo just goes longer and just goes deeper. But they are like underlying the same principled
yeah,
structure, I would say. So you could say, okay, it's 45% Fire King and it's 30% or roughly that Snake Eye, but still, I would rather say it's 80% Snake Eye in total, with like Snake Eye cards being involved. So, what would you say in Yu-Gi-Oh were the tier 0 formats that we already had in the past? Because Yu-Gi-Oh, of course, is around for so long now.
I mean, it's almost in the name. Pronunciation-wise, we had
Haha.
Tier 0, Telements,
The most recent one, true.
the most recent one, and I think the best format that we have ever had in Yu-Gi-Oh! Many people will disagree. I loved it. Also, many people who disagreed cried when the Forbidden and Limited list came, and the deck was basically done for and never to be seen again, or half a year not to be seen again. We had Spiral for a really short amount of time.
Yeah. Spiral was really tier 0 as well. Like
During
you have a fun story with Spiral, right? Because that you actually managed to have success with a non-Spiral deck during Spiral
Yeah,
format.
I played my beloved Trickstars in at YCS London,
Yeah.
and I 2-0'd Marcello Barberi with it. It went really well, and then I played against Marvin Camera, recently to be seen in the Bologna stream as
True.
a Vanquish Soul player. And for some reason, I summon Gofu, activate effective summon tokens. He activates Max C. I look at my Ash in my hand, and I go, yeah, sure. And I lose.
Yeah. Was that last round of Swiss or what was that?
No, I was 5-0 at that point, and then everything went downhill. Like,
Ay,
that
ay,
broke
ay.
me. I was unconcentrated after that. Uh, but yeah, the format, like, that's also a topic that I'm going to come back to later,
Mhm.
because I think this is rather important in a tier 0 discussion. Let's just quickly go over other tier 0 decks that we
Yeah.
had before. There was a time where we didn't have a tier 0 archetype, but during the big break, I think that any deck that played Jet Synchron and Queefy were the same deck, and they were tier 0. We had Dragons versus Eldritch, and it was the same combo. Basically, if you win the dice roll and you open Jet Synchron, you win.
I remember we had like some, was it a remote duel invitational? I think it was an invitational, right? That we
Yes.
casted. And I think Yurio and Schattenspieler both did pretty good at the tournament. And one of them played Emancipator and the other one played Eldritch. But yeah, they were both combo piles. Even Eldritch was a combo pile. Like, imagine saying that to a modern day Eldritch player, your deck used to be a combo deck. He's going to be like, did you not play Skill Drain? Did you not play There Can Be Only One? Like, huh? What is this?
No, you went for your basic combo that just all went from Kriston Hulk Queefy, and
Yeah,
then the entire format was just Hulk win.
pretty
And
much.
what else did we have? We had Teledat, which is the bigger throwback in time.
I'm impressed that you have not mentioned the most obvious one, to be honest.
Oh, wait.
I think
Uh,
there's one even more obvious than all the ones you already said.
Even more than Telemans. I mean,
Yeah.
we have someone in chat whose name ends on Clausulas, so there's Necros, of course.
No?
Zodiacs.
Yeah, Zodiacs.
Ooh,
Because like I think
thanks, John.
I don't know whether we had it a second time, but for Zodiac, definitely we had it that all decks in Top Cut, at that point it was only top 32, was Zodiac. Like
Yeah,
there was like a split up between different variants because you had like True Draco Zodiac, you had but still, as I was just saying for the Snake Eye stuff, it was the underlying mythology of playing Zodiac cards. So
that deck was beautiful.
the deck was beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
look, there's a trend. I think I wanna take out Spiral because I don't really think that deck was too beautiful, at least to play against or to play the mirror or something. Because the mirror was more of a more of a coin toss festa or something. But besides the spiral accident, I think all of the tier 0 formats so far were pretty enjoyable.
Okay, okay. Listen to me. Unpopular opinion,
Mhm.
because this is data-wise not true.
Okay.
Lightsworn in Liverpool 2017.
Was absolutely not tier 0. You don't understand what tier 0 means, even if you say that.
That's why I said that I can't prove this data-wise, because there weren't enough people to play it, but almost everyone who ran the deck topped. There weren't enough Minervas around, so the deck could be tier 0, but the deck was so far above every other deck in the format that it's actually crazy. This deck, if Minerva was accessible to everyone at that point, would have been straight up tier 0.
But I'm saying you don't understand the definition of tier 0, but maybe I just have a wrong definition of tier 0. Like, of course, like you could say tier 0 just means it's the best deck by a mile or something, but like I was already even in this episode saying I always try to go with data, go with stats, and like for me, a deck has to prove itself, and for me, a deck has to actually put up numbers, and therefore, like I for a tier 0 deck need to have a top cut representation of 50% plus. I think
I
that
mean,
is my definition of it.
the deck proved itself because there were like 8 players in the tournament that played Lightsworn, and there was like one player not topping with it.
Yes, but still, like
You can't make up 50% of top cut if there are only like 30% of the amount of players that a top cut has on the deck.
okay, then another question. Is tier 0 different to a tier 0 format? Like is a tier 0 deck different to a
Yeah,
tier 0
yeah,
format?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think we can very much agree on that.
Yeah.
If you're making tier lists, then this deck would have been in tier 0, but it wasn't a tier 0 format
Yeah, yeah.
because you were most of the time not playing against the deck.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. That is something. I mean, because I'm obviously not trying to talk down the power of that deck back in the days.
Yeah.
Like it was completely insane. And for the people at home that might be wondering why did only a couple of people have that Minerva? Why did not everybody play it? That was back in the day just a prize card that you could only win at YCS tournaments. So it was very much not available to the masses, and that means only you said it, I think 7 or something persons entered the tournament with that strategy. And it did also not win though, right?
No, it lost in the finals to Tom Rose, who
Oh,
was on our.
true. That was crazy.
Yeah, I rewatched this back because actually we did some content.
Yeah,
Sorry about this in Bologna. You can actually watch that on the official Konami YouTube channel where I was
true.
playing against Alpha.
Yeah,
We were recreating the final with the decks. Tom Rose was he got, I don't want to say lucky in that matchup, but his hands were good,
yeah,
and his opponent, also Tom, just bricked a lot. The deck can be so incredibly crazy, but I mean every deck can break, even tier 0, right?
true. Yeah, Tom Feelgoods it was back in the day. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that was a cool tournament. But yeah, so we
We're
now
drifting off.
exactly we do drift off. So we are I still need to say one thing. We are about to be in a tier 0 format, and I think yes, we got some sufficient data now from that first weekend, but I need more, to be honest. Like it
Mhm.
was a YCS in South America where also a lot of Americans attended, and like a lot of the Americans even topped, and like that means probably like all of the Americans just brought their Snake Eye decks and they then had success with that. And like if we, for example, now next weekend look at YCS Las Vegas, where the playing field is way broader and like where diversity may be a little bigger. I don't know, maybe it's not, but I think it's going to be more telling next weekend because last weekend it was like a total of 130 teams, and then all the top players were on the Snake Eye deck, and so it was like the data may not be completely accurate, at least not in the total number that we ended up getting. Like it was over 80%, and I could see in Vegas it going down to like maybe 60% or 70% or something.
Statistically speaking, you're absolutely right about this. We
Yeah.
don't have enough data yet. However, I want to point out that those South American YCSs tend to be real rogue fiestas. We have
That's
had
true.
so many crazy decks in Top Cut there, and seeing that there is an 80%
Yeah, that's true. Hello,
deck.
hello, Mindburn, by the way, winning YC's Brazil back in the day. That was, speaking of rogue fiestas and South American YCSs, that was crazy.
Element Raid in top 4 a few months ago as well, where the deck had nothing to do there.
Wasn't it even Adventure Celebrate? It was like the wildest stuff ever. It was completely insane. Yeah, like South American YCSs do tend to be pretty crazy. But I think this time when I was going through the teams, it was even more North American players joining the action than usual. I think that is easy to be explained as well. Like, first of all, they thought it's a good format to have a good edge in, which also got then proven by the data because a lot of them did make it into the top cut. And also, it's like a back-to-back weekend of YCS. It's like you play the YCS Costa Rica together as a 3v3 together as a team, and then 1 weekend later you have YCS Las Vegas. So you have like practice as a team already, which I think is a pretty smart thing to do.
That is true. We also have some German players going over for Vegas again, of course. That's going to be very cool to root for them.
Absolutely. So I always love watching American live streams because I would also love to watch European YCS live streams, but I mean, I'm involved in them as you are. So like, it would be weird to have the smartphone on at the same time just watching myself casting. I think so there would be some people not approving that. But yeah, like when there is American YCSs, even though they tend to go on until late night, I always love to go for it. I just enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh too much to pass up on it for sure.
And if everything works, I think this podcast will be on Spotify, etc. on Saturday.
Yeah.
If everything works out, we can advertise your watch party here.
Should be.
Might happen on Sunday if you are back in time.
It should be. It should be. I like if my flight does not get messed up or anything, we should have a watch party for YCS Vegas. So just check out the Twitch on Sunday, and then we can enjoy the second day of the YCS, the most important, the nitty gritty of the YCS together, and enjoy that. Yeah. But okay, so we are now, as I said, not 100% sure that it's going to be a tier 0 format, but we have strong indicators believing it is going to be. Leo is giving me the side eye. He's basically already sold on it. It is going to be. And I mean, I'm also not saying it's going to completely turn around and Voiceless Voice is now all of a sudden going to have 50% top cut representation in Vegas. That ain't happening, for real. But still, we want to now talk about how to prepare for that kind of a tournament as a caster or as a player. What would you like to discuss first?
So I think as a caster, this is the caster says. Let's go over this first.
Sure.
I think it's very important that you know the deck in depth. Because in most recent formats, we had crazy diversity in Bologna and Dortmund. You're going to see every deck play out once in a while. It's like 10, 12 different decks because everything can basically win. So you know the basic stuff that every deck does. You can talk about it, you can give some side information to it, which is going to be interesting, and then you let the players do the heavy lifting, the talk with their cards. But for tier 0 formats, back in the day, tier elements, I love that a lot. You have to really know what you're talking about. Like, you're going to see this matchup basically every round. If it's really tier 0, it's going to be really hard to find featured matches at the top tables that aren't going to be with that deck involved. So you have to really know what you're talking about. The niche scenarios in the mirror match, the little effects that can be activated at what point, what can be a critical mistake that is otherwise in other matchups, a regular play. Those kinds of things you have to know as a caster for tier 0 formats.
Yeah. So I think the from the outside, maybe the easy impression could be here. Okay, there's only one or two, if you want to say Snake Eyes and Snake Eye Fire King are different decks to prepare for. So they save so much time because they need to go. They don't need to go through 10 decks, but just through one deck. But I mean, on the one hand, that is true. You do save time because you don't need to learn 1,000 rogue deck combos. You could still do because it might happen 1 out of 1,000 times. But as you were saying, I think it's way better to invest that time than into the one deck that you are going to see so much. And under these circumstances, I think we, for example, and we also got good feedback on that when we casted the
Yeah.
finals of YCS Lyon. Like, that was tier 0, just Telemans gameplay, and we are usually known to be like the hype commentators. We like to bring in some energy, we like to bring in some atmosphere, but for that, we also were totally at any point on, like, we were on what was happening on the field. Like, we
Yeah.
were absolutely understanding every single interaction. We were both playing the deck at the time. We were both completely invested into the Telemans deck, and therefore we were enjoying it, but also we were like super, super knowledgeable about it. And I think that is what it needed there, because, like, yes, you are going to see similar stuff every round, but the small niche and nuance difference between the players, between how they sequence their plays, that is what is going to be there that we need to point out then. It doesn't matter whether they play the combo or not, because usually they will find the way into the combo, but the way they do it, the way they shape their turn, the way they play around certain hand traps or something, that is what's going to be important.
Exactly. And otherwise, in such complex mirrors, you have to be like not also really invested into the game that you're casting about,
Yeah.
because you can. That's also a little problem. That was a little problem with tier. Usually, we like to have a little banter or a joke around and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's way harder to do that because if you're not exactly focusing, then you lose track of little nuances in the game. There are so
Totally.
many effects to be activated, and there's also an interesting question that Astrodog pointed out in the chat. How can you make a complex mirror like that accessible to an average player?
Mm.
I think it is just a bit easier than other complex matchups in non-tier 0 formats, because the average player and every viewer who's going to stick around for more than one round
Yeah.
is going to get used to the basic plays of the deck. And you can repeat them as a caster. You can go over them, saying, "Okay, this is the standard combo line. We're going to see Promethean Princess summoning back Flame Birch in the regular Snake Eye combo or something like that.
Yeah.
Back the IP or SP, and that is all good. But then you can really point out the crazy plays that the players are making, and this way we are learning,
Mm-hmm.
and the chat is learning as well.
Yeah. So it's definitely a question that I was also asking myself before. Like, how interesting is that really to the everyday Joey that is just tuning in, maybe having played like locals twice this month, but not really knowing what's going on. So, like, is Joey really going to be entertained by watching the same deck the entire day?
You know,
But yeah, go ahead.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, you did, so go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I think in this case, I mean, we have heard many discussions about the accessibility of the deck. It can be really entertaining for every player if they're open for it.
Hmm.
Like there are always negative people in chat who hate certain decks because for some reasons,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
they find some interactions stupid or they have lost to it too many times at locals. uh, no hate at that, at that point, but I think those matchups, if you're really into Yu-Gi-Oh and you don't care if you have the deck or if you want to play the deck or if you lost against the deck before, then those can be the most exciting games.
For sure. Because, like, when the playing field gets smaller and smaller, when like different decks, like the deck choices are more narrow and everything, you gotta view it from that standpoint. Like, in a broad format with 10 different decks, variance actually becomes so much more of a factor, because you might be playing against deck 1, you might be playing against deck 2, you might be playing against deck 3. And like, you chose a deck into a tournament where your deck actually is like really good against deck 1, it's decently well against deck 2, but it is somewhat awkward against deck 3. And when there is like the same amount of every deck in every tournament, you might be playing against deck 1 once, you might be playing against deck 2 once, but then you all of a sudden face deck 3 4 times, and it's really tough to overcome that. But now, in an environment where there's always the same deck, I think the skill factor is going to be way more relevant, and it is in fact, and also statistically proven, way more relevant, because those tier tournaments were always dominated by great players mostly, or these tier 0 tournaments in general, and therefore, like, lowering variance, lowering the chances of having them play against weird decks is definitely making it more skillful overall, for sure.
And there we're getting to another point, which I was going to tell with the Trickstar story from London.
Okay, go ahead.
That is that you can be more creative with rogue decks, with your deck building, if you know that 80% of the tournament is going to be Snake Eye Fire King or
Yep.
Snake Eyes.
Yep.
You can safely play many tech cards that you otherwise at a regular YCS with 12 good decks. You couldn't play them. They are way
Nope.
too risky. They might pick up some spots in the side deck, but then again, are they worth being side deck? Because there you want the auto win cards. Do you want to have the cards going first? Blah blah blah, etc.
Yeah. I think
You
you
can
like
pick so hard.
in the last format we really saw that, like, people were really focusing on playing generic cards, like
Yeah.
Lightning Storm was a lot there in the side decks, evenly was being played, then of course hand traps and so on, but like nobody really made super matchup specific choices. And now, of course, like your side decking process or even your main decking process when you build the deck is already going to rely so hard on just focusing on how the matchup is going to get better against that one deck in the room.
Yeah, I find that incredibly funny because, like, last format, people were thinking about Spellbound, which is a really generic card,
Yeah.
but it was just not generic enough for people to play it. It was like, okay, this only hits 7 very good decks at the moment, but against the other 2 or 3, it is awful, so I'm not going to include it in my deck.
Yeah.
If you now see a card that is good versus Fire King and Snake Eye, and it doesn't hurt your own deck, play it. Just immediately throw it in there, go to a regional and see how it performs.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it is going to be super exciting because for some people, I think the basic impression would be, okay, there's one deck, so top level competition is going to be very stagnant, and it's not going to move. It's not going to be any kind of environment where deck building or something is evolving. But that's the interesting thing. Like, when people bring in new tech cards into the format, trying to counter the fire deck and so on, the fire deck itself and also the other decks around it will consistently change. Like, for example, when we now figure out that, let's just say, what is a good tech card against Fire King?
Soul Release.
Soul Release. Perfect, exactly. That was actually the one I already had on top of my head. When we're saying this card is now going to be in everybody's side deck, or at least everybody's side deck that is not playing the deck itself, what could be a good way to counter that?
Spell and Haunted Mansion.
Actually, I have to give credit to the man to himself, because Leo was actually talking about that earlier, because he was actually thinking about that before. And yeah, I mean, that could be a way in how the format is going to develop. There are many different ways in how it could end up developing. And I mean, just in general, like, maybe even, I don't like to mention, actually, I do like to mention it, but even playing stun could at some point be something that is relevant. Like, imagine, like, look at the list of Jesse Cotton. He didn't play any backer removal or anything in the side deck. Like,
Mystic Mine.
if,
Not
if-
even Cosmic?
not even Cosmic, no. Yeah, like, there was nothing.
That now we have beef. My man's not including Cosmic in this format. I'm
I mean,
not a fan.
to be fair, like, that tournament and the list of Jesse and so on has to be seen on a completely, like, with a completely different eye, because it was a 16-player invitational. So
Yeah,
obviously they're going to make, obviously they're going to make, like, educated deck building decisions on the playing field that they're playing in, right?
Also, I will never ever question Jesse Cotton on deck choices. I don't
Probably.
think that I have the right to do that, but I appreciate a good Cosmic Cyclone once in a while.
Since its release, basically, you've always been appreciating it, right?
I don't know why actually, but so this card that just banishes one spell and trap card, basically a better mystical space typhoon, and I just fell in love with it. I was like, we need this. This is
Yeah.
the best thing ever.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of drifted by talking about casting preparation for these kind of tournaments already into the player's perspective as well, because
Yeah,
obviously it is very, very much connected, and obviously part of our casting preparation for these kind of tournaments includes playing. Like we are somewhat also just preparing for playing tournaments in that. And I think one of one of the biggest factors why we are actually good at what we do, at what we at casting, is because we are also playing the game so often and so much, which now makes me segment to another topic that I want to quickly touch on, and that is so nice that you can right now
yeah, yeah,
test Snake Eye in Master Duel. Like, how cool is that? We can in real time, basically, of course, with like the difference of there not being how's the spell called? Bonfire. There's no bonfire, and there's also no SP, so it's a bit different, a little. But like you can definitely just play almost the same combos in Master Duel. Also, there's no Raging Phoenix, and Raging Phoenix actually kind of cracked. But besides that, like you can definitely get like the ground idea that you can go into combos, you can play test and test that. And I hope that that is not the last deck where that is possible, because I really love that right now. You actually play Master Duel and you take away stuff
yeah.
from it for the actual TCG format.
Also, there's like still other cool things that you can't do in TCG, so it's still a different format, like this two-card combo of Diabellstar plus Ash that you involve Sprite Elf in, that is not
Yeah,
available in the TCG, but you can do it in Master Duel. So it's still its own game, but the mechanics that you are playing in Master Duel, you can transfer most of the time directly into TCG. I love that. And also, honestly, not having SP is a really big factor. I
yeah,
mean, of course, SP is very good for every deck, so it basically evens out the playing field that your opponents can't use it either.
for sure.
However, just having IP on the field plus Flame Birch is now significantly worse.
It is indeed. Like SP is really a format defining card, not gonna lie. Like that card is $100 plus for a reason. Like that
Yeah,
card is just completely busted. And therefore it definitely, but like as you said, like it's not really defining the power of a single deck, because no deck has access to it. Like it is good in basically every deck except branded, for example. But like all the other decks that could run it would most likely run it in the
yeah.
end. So it's not really the deciding factor on that end.
The price of Labyrinth shot up when people started to play Pot of Extravagance, and SP is just so good that you all of a sudden had to run three of it.
Yeah. Well, Labyrinth, though, I mean, not really the topic of discussion right now, but Labyrinth completely disappeared, by the way. Like, we thought, hey, with Maze of Millennia releasing
Yeah.
transaction rollback, the deck is still going to be at least somewhat viable. But like it wasn't anywhere. Like it didn't top the 3v3. It wasn't even picked at all for the UDS. I don't expect it to really pick up in pace again in the next
No.
couple of weeks. It's just I think like it is also a deck that just is not liking the tier 0 environment, right? Because the deck that it is facing is just not a good matchup for it at all.
Yeah, it's very hard to beat, especially the Fire King version with Labyrinth that has very few other options to get rid of cards than destroying them.
Yeah.
Like you have your lovely of the Labyrinth of the Silver Castle, lovely Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. Holy hell! Um, it's your main source of removal most of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really tough for the deck right now. And like the other rogue deck that is being kind of considered right now is maybe branded from some players, and
Yeah.
that's like your worst matchup ever.
Indeed, yeah, it doesn't really get much better. Branded could be up there. I've talked to people that say Branded is the best deck.
I mean, in Master Duel, it puts up a really good fight. I think in Master Duel, branded is like almost on par with Snake Eye.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a good deck for sure. I think Snake Eye is very, very, very good and even better
Yeah.
than Brandon. But let's not talk about that much more. Like let's rather focus on the preparation when you
Yeah.
are going into a tournament as a player. So we figured out that you don't really have to, because for a regular tournament in a format with more decks, obviously, like your first point where you start your journey for a tournament would be picking a deck. So you can already be like,
Good.
okay, I'm done with that because there is only one deck to play at the moment. Of course, it's not that easy. You could also go for an anti-meta strategy against that deck or something. But let's just assume you are going to be part of that tier 0 environment and you want to play that tier 0 deck too. So you know what you're playing. So let's work on that end. And now you have your deck core. Probably, what would you say for a Snake Eye deck? How big is the engine? It's probably like 22 to 25 cards, I would say. So definitely still have decent amount of space for non-engine.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if you're playing with Fire King or not, because the Fire King engine is also quite
Yeah,
big.
yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
8 cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it depends on which version you pick, for
Yeah.
sure. But then, okay, so you settled on the main engine that you're going to play, and now it's about to figure out the non-engine cards. My brain froze for a second, but yeah, the
And,
non-engine cards.
and that's like the best thing, because you just sit down with other players, you play the mirror match, and
Yeah,
then you find out what works or what doesn't work. You don't have to like still think about other matchups that you haven't playtested enough so far. You just keep on playing the same matchup,
yeah.
and you see what works.
Totally, yeah. I think also you can just put in the work, and you can be so far more ahead of other players that have not put in the work. Like
Yeah.
it's just raw playtesting, and I think I read that multiple times over the last couple of days on social media too. Like people saying just the pure technical play for this upcoming format is going to be the determining factor of who's going
Yeah.
to win tournaments or who's going to do well in these formats. And we just had the best example like right away. Like, how could you prove it better by having Jesse Cotton winning the ultimate undisputed UDS tournament and then also win the Pac, Kamal, and Ruben team winning a YCS as well? Like, these guys are completely cracked at the game and they put in the time. I can guarantee you they put in the hours and they did so much. I think at least for the pack team, they definitely did like a bunch of testing. With Jesse, it's always a bit weird because at least from what Jesse says, I don't even know whether that's true or whether he's just kind of playing it down. But he always says he almost does no play testing, but just theorizing. But how do you even know the Fire King Snake Eye combo when you only theorize? That just seems so absurd to me.
I mean, I I always like to think that there are some people on this planet who just think better than us.
Yes, for sure.
Just they sit down with those cards and they see lines that my brain isn't capable of immediately seeing. Like I need to put in hours over hours to to
100%.
to see every line. I need players to tell me, hey, if your opponent does this in this situation, why not think about this other way? So I need to do some repetitions, and I need more input, and I have to have seen everything so far. There are very few, and that is a bit embarrassing, but there's very, very few cool plays that I come up with on my own during the matches.
Hmm.
It's I'm a very uncreative player, I want to say. I'm
Yeah.
good at making stupid jokes on the spot, but with plays,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard though. Like, and I mean,
yeah,
it makes it easier when you put the play testing in because
yeah,
I think that is definitely a skill to have that you can come up with good decisions on the spot. But like, if you don't have to do that because you already know the answer to these questions because you did
yeah.
it in playtesting 1,000 times, or 1,000 is maybe a little over exaggerate, but like 50 times, then it takes stress away from you because you already have the answers and you don't need to work for them so hard within the match, and you can focus on other things during that match. And therefore, I mean, that is not only for tier 0 formats, but playtesting is going to pay off so insanely good. Yeah, like if you playtest a lot, you are going to do well at tournaments as well. If you playtest the right decks, if you're playtesting Ice Jade for 1,000 hours, you're probably not going to top a YCS. But if you put it in with the right deck, you are going to do well too.
For some reason, I always find Ice Jade on Master Duel
Same.
somehow threatening.
No. But I do play it too. I do fight the players, but I don't find them threatening.
They always have like 3 hand traps and then a Baron. They are very hard to beat for me. Ice Jade players are built different, dude. But I want to. This is not very well structured now, but I want to give shout outs to this one video that Puck just released on his channel 2 days ago
Oh, true. That's a good point. Yeah.
with a player from his locals. Who was playing Super Heavy Samurai Snake Eye Fire King, and who basically took the Super Heavy Samurai engine, which is triple Wakaushi and 5 commons. 5 commons, yeah. To replace Wanted and Bonfire.
Yeah.
They are not trying to sell it as it is on par or better than the Wanted engine, but they're saying, hey, you can make up for it by playing better than your opponent. So you can play this deck. I just got myself all of those cards. I just went to the ceiling.
Nice.
What's it called? I don't know. And I got my Super Heavy Samurai motorbikes from my bulk pile. So I'm going to try and play the deck, see how well we can do with this. And I think that there is with creativity always a chance to make up for big prices. So if you want to take part in playing those mirror matches, in playing this tier 0, I think you can actually quite on a quite good budget though.
Yeah, it does definitely sound possible. So I cannot wait for other people to come up with more stuff. Like I hope there's going to be something super innovative just topping YCS Las Vegas right away. And I mean, the thing is with Vegas, we're going to see so many decks topping, and I hope that they are all going to do deck profiles, because how many teams are going to enter there? It's like going to be probably like 600, 700 teams or something, roughly that. So that means they are going to play top 32, and that means we are going to have 96 decks in total in Top Card, which is complete insanity.
Oh, dude, that's actually kind of nice. I'm really looking forward to that, to see all of the spice, to see if people are going to play budget versions, if some crazy rogue deck is coming out of this, the crazy text that people could play. I'm expecting quite a few cool lists already. I will keep the not very goo to myself.
Okay.
But I just can't wait for the results of this weekend.
Same, it's going to be crazy. And give me a number. How many percentage is it going to be? Or what's the percentage going to be?
Out of the 96, I'm not good with percentages.
Sure.
Even though 96 is very close to 100. I'm gonna say that at least 85 of the 96 decks are Snake Eye.
What? That's an insanely big number.
Yeah, but I think that there's going to be a lot in the tournament, and especially in a 3v3.
Yeah.
The decks with 3 Snake Eye decks will always beat the teams with less Snake Eye decks. So I think especially for a 3v3, tier 0 is more dominant even.
How many did you say? 85?
85 decks out of 96.
So that would be, quick math, 88%. Holy. That is pretty insane. Honestly,
I mean,
I think for you're saying for why would you say for 3v3s tier 0 formats apply even more? What's the reasoning?
The rogue decks need at least almost always like a good dose of luck to succeed in tier 0 formats. And if you have 3 rogue players, then they need to have the same luck 3 times to beat a full Snake Eye team. The deck is more consistent. The deck is better than anything else that we have right now.
Yeah.
So I think a deck with 3 Snake Eye decks is going to be consistently better than teams with 3 non-Snake Eye decks. And I keep on saying the deck with 3 Snake Eye decks, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think everyone got it. Everyone understands. But on the other hand, you could just get carried through by 2 of your teammates playing Snake Eyes. I think that's like a thing that does happen, right? That like you're the one Salomon, great player, and your two teammates are playing Snake Eye very decently well, and then you just somehow like that end up in top cut. You don't need to have a team full of rogue decks, basically.
But then you have
Then you don't have a team.
like, yeah, exactly. Like if your teammates are both on full on Snake Eye, they invested the money and the time to be very good in this mirror match that they can play in a top cut easily of a YCS, then they're not going to say, "Hey, dude." There's very few teams who are going to say, "Hey, dude, go ahead, play Salomon Grade."
I think it's quite funny. I saw a screenshot. Once again, you already shouted him out to shouts to Pack. He posted a screenshot of a good text chat with someone. It didn't say the name who he is texting with, but the person texting him was saying, "Bro, I don't know whether I can really get into that fire stuff. It's all so complicated and so on. I think I might just end up playing Flunder." And then Pac responded something like, "If you play Flunder, you will never hear from me again," or something. And everyone then was speculating, but it was Team Sam texting him that, because Team Sam and Peck are actually going to be on the same team for this.
This is very cool. I'm looking forward to team content creation performing at YCS Vegas.
So the original, you don't even know about that. The original idea was that it is Pack, Sam, and Triff in one team. But I think Triff backed out. I've heard that is rumors I've heard. From what I've heard, Triff backed out, and instead he's going to be replaced by Nash, which is also quite hilarious.
Well, that has been. We also had a team Antonio Papa topping last YCS, right?
True, yeah, they had the team name that was the Christian Arena team. But like, funnily enough, interestingly enough, Team Sam won a 3v3 YCS in Las Vegas before, which is pretty insane. Yeah,
Even in Vegas, that's crazy.
he knows how to do it. Yeah, so he's a good candidate to get onto the team. He's definitely great. But yeah, so testing. Definitely the main takeaway. Then techs, I think it's kind of tough to come up with techs. Like your deck building process for the side deck also is going to differ now a lot, because you are going to focus your main deck so heavily on the Snake Eye deck already, on the Snake Eye Fire King deck, that the side decking becomes a little weird, because you cannot really just bring in more cards towards that matchup, because your main deck is going to be packed with those cards already. So what are you doing with your side deck? Are you now focusing your side deck on the rogue matchups, or are you just going, hey, this for going first, this for going second, and you basically just go for the entire plan? Okay, yeah, that's how it is.
I think you really want to have some game-winning cards in your side deck always that you can't include in your main deck, because like Dimensional Barrier
Yeah,
versus Branded, if you are having this in your main deck and you go second, you still lose.
sure.
So I think that the side deck is going to be full of those cards, those heavy-going second cards. If there is like a card like Soul Release, you don't really want to have it going first because it doesn't help you. So this is a good contender for the side deck. It's also not bad going first, because you just keep it if you have combo. Otherwise, fair enough. But you want to have like the maximum usage out of every card that you have in your hand and in your deck, especially considering if you're going first or second. So I think it's going to be the generically good cards like hand traps. I really like hand traps, especially in this format, because there's not really good field breakers at all, good board breakers.
Yeah.
Right now. So I think the main deck is going to be filled to the brim with hand traps and cards to counter hand traps like Talons, maybe Cross Out.
We saw the crossout technology by Jesse Cotton this weekend. Yeah,
Yeah.
He main deck crossout.
Yeah, I think going second, it's also decent against some fields, right? You can banish a Lambert. Is that good?
I mean, you can technically, Flambridge works, yeah, but you can also just technically, like people were saying, called by on Garunix is insane. So crossout on Garunix is kind of the same, isn't it?
But how does crossout work again? Does it also forbid you to play with the cards?
Yeah, it does.
That's kind of bad then, right?
I mean, called by does as well. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true. But I mean, you can still use it on hand traps, because everyone is going to end up with field plus hand traps. Let's be honest.
And I mean, we were basically waiting for a crossout format for so long. And I mean,
Yeah,
I have been preaching that when the card was released, or a couple of months after that, even, this card is probably going to find its prime time in a format where everyone is playing the same cards, so in a tier 0 format.
yeah.
Because like when you can not only counter non-engine but can also counter engine with it, the card is just having such a big like you can apply it in so many different situations, so many different scenarios. And I think therefore the Fury, and Jesse Cotton said his whole deck was only completely Fury, is making sense to me that this is a format where you would like to run it.
The guy is just crazy in terms
Yeah,
of deck building, and then plays. How does he do it? We will never know. I just think he has altered brain chemistry.
he's a machine. I am kind of convinced he's actually not human but a machine. He got sent to us by a different planet on which Yu-Gi-Oh is just the main thing everyone does, you know? Like there is a different reality, and it's basically a reality where everyone is just playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
So Jesse Cotton is Visa Starfrost. That's what you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. I dig that. I dig that. I like that. Okay, so where were we? No,
Saying
honestly,
that
where were we?
saying Crossout is a good card, maybe a
Yeah.
card, and of course definitely is going to be a side deck relevant card for the upcoming format, and yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've covered deck building now, side decking. You also want to sometimes include something for rogue decks.
That's the question. Do you do you
If,
even
if,
do that when it's so rarely happening?
yeah, no. I think YCS is just in tier 0 formats. It's just basically praying that in the first 2 rounds you're not going to face rogue.
Yeah.
If you're facing rogue, you rely on your engine being good enough,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, you basically hope that you're playing the mirror match. You win the mirror match. You keep on mirror matching.
Like one thing I may understand siding is Bestials, because I think Bestials are really good against Voiceless Voice, and I think Voiceless Voice is
Yeah,
like also data wise so far the biggest contender. Like it was the third most represented decks after Fire King and Snake Eye for the 3v3 YCS, and I think it's probably going to continue like that. And Bestials do really hurt Voiceless Voice players if you just banish their low. Like that is something I could see, but I also don't know whether you're going to have the space for that long term.
yeah. Might actually play DD Crows. Let's see how good those are in the format. There might be some applications for DD Crow. Actually, also being a lot better than Bestials in the mirror match,
Yeah,
specifically
true.
because you can then target everything. And
Safe, yeah.
very important end if they play around your Nibiru by activating the field spell. Snake field spell, putting Flame Birch in the spell trap zone. With Bestials, if you're going for a Bestial play to banish the IP or a Linkuribo,
Yeah.
then they can summon out their Flame Birch and have an extra body on the field. With DD Crow, that doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, good point, actually. I probably like DD Chrome more as well, comparing it to the Vistials for sure.
I mean, in Master Duel, I'm playing a heavy Bestial package, but I'm not too convinced about it. But it kind of works.
Yeah. Okay, speaking about Master, because I think we kind of spoke about everything we wanted to speak about for the tier 0 format and for the preparation part. Probably like right now, if you're listening to this right after this comes out, there is me going to be competing in the
Yeah.
2-year anniversary of the game of Master Duel, which is happening this weekend. There's a big celebration invitational, and I'm teaming up with one of the world champions, with Emre himself, and therefore I'm right now kind of preparing for it. So I have to get my hat even deeper into the Master Duel format. I am already like regularly playing, so it's not like I have to learn walking, but still like preparing for an actual tournament is something else. Like you obviously have to like put the real time in, test, and that's what I'm currently going through. So would appreciate you guys checking out the live stream, even if it is Sunday that you are listening to this right now. Just watch back. Is going to be on the official English Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG channel. I don't even, I forgot the name. Yu-Gi-Oh! Card EU, it should be. That should be the one, so definitely make sure to check that out. And as Leo was saying, he's going to be attending the tournament in Mainz, or like the festival rather, with all the cool activities and so on. Are you going to be in the ballpark?
I'm definitely going to be in the ballpark. So the Dueling Festival is like a big Yu-Gi-Oh party, basically, with
Yeah.
tournaments happening, but also a lot of activities for casual players and kids, because of course we want our game to grow, and we don't want our game to die out specifically. So it's very cool that this is also a festival that is attractive for kids that can learn how to play the game. We have judges explaining everything to newer players. So that's quite the cool thing, especially because it's in a pyramid with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Egyptian theme. I love it, and of course I'm going to be in the ballpark. There is a ballpark. I'm going to Marince's dive in there, and yeah, I'm going to have a good time in between tournaments, probably. Yeah.
Let's go. All right, so I would say let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Everyone, make sure to check out Leo on social media or on Twitch, Koning Lionard. It is everywhere, basically. So absolutely make sure to check him out over there. For me, it is going to be either, if you're seeing this on YouTube, my YouTube channel, please subscribe if you feel like it. Or also everywhere on social media and on Twitch, it's going to be Lampy_YGO if you want to find me. Appreciate you guys listening until here. If you made it until this point, you are a true fan. You are a true enjoyer of the podcast, and I want to say thank you for that. And Leo, last words to you.
Uh, uh, go fire or go home. That was not as cool as I wanted it to be, but that's